Howdy, folks, and welcome to Moose Podcast 230. How you folks all doing out there? Hey, I saw a number of you this past weekend. I thanks so much for you telling me that you listen to the podcast and how much you enjoy it. Had a few more emails this week. Thanks for all that correspondence. That's why I'm out here doing it. So thanks so much for dropping by. Also want to thank my good friends at Bedford Camera, bedfords.com. They're hosting, along with Nikon, Robin Layton, and myself on the 20th. Just told about the size of this event. Boy, you guys are really just phenomenal. You're coming out in big numbers. We're going to have a great time. So make sure you check the website. Go to bedfords.com, not only for the Robin Layton, Moose Peterson chat, but also for picking up that great gear. Had to get another FTZ. Contacted them. Next day later, boom, there it was. Love these guys and that service. Remember, you get a real discount when you call up or you go to the website and use that MOOSE. You can save money there, shipping, and probably sales tax. And besides that, they're really great people. Bedford's Camera, thanks for sponsoring the Moose Podcast. Let's get right to this one. Simple. Learning. Now, you might be wondering just what is in my mind this time with a simple one word, learning. Well, photographers, and it happens a few other places as well, they want to learn more. And so they go after that knowledge. They go after that knowledge in many places. The last year, a lot of it has been online. And I understand that quest for knowledge. And we think about it for a second. What is that quest? Where does it come from? From a number of places. First is from inside, where something in us tells us we know we can do better. It's not some person. It's not something. It's just this inner voice that says you can do better. So then in trying to do better, you go on a quest to learn more. Another place is, and it's very common, especially this last year, is you put your photograph out there, like on the Kelby One Blind Critiques, for example, or some of the many other places where they're doing online portfolio reviews. And the person reviewing says, you might try looking into this or that, or somebody might look at your Instagram and say, you might try this or that. And that sends you down the road to wanting to learn more. Or what happens, especially to me in the beginning of my career, the photo buyer would say, you need to learn how to do blah. And there was no subtlety into it. They point blank said, you need to learn this. So then the quest begins to learn that knowledge. And that's not really what I want to talk about. It's not where it starts. And then I don't really want to talk about the part about where you're going to learn it, because there's so many great resources out there now to learn things. I want to talk about applying it, point blank. What good is that learning if you don't apply it? So there's a couple of things that I've seen unfold of late that I thought I would just talk about, see if maybe it could help you get past it. A lot of photographers, and I'm included, you get a little bit set in your ways. Be it the way you hold a camera, to the lens you want to use, to the way you process that file. And then something sends you down that road of learning. And you come across that, whatever that item is you want to learn, and you try to take it in, but then the application falls to pieces a lot. That's because, one, you're human, so that does get in the way. And then part of that is that stubbornness to admit that perhaps you don't know everything, or perhaps what you know isn't serving you well. So even though you went out and you know you had to learn that thing, you went and exposed yourself to it, which probably is why I call this learning, because exposing yourself to information and learning it isn't the same thing. Not even close. And I see more and more examples of photographers, and I kind of think this is part of being cooped up for so long, that they've had this quest to learn, but the stubbornness to apply it and to, you could say, put aside what you already knew to try to incorporate this new thing isn't happening. How can you get past that? One way, right off the bat, is, at least in my opinion, whatever it is that lens is you think is just the most amazing, phenomenal lens on the planet, there's more than one lens, focal length, and depth, f-stop to photography. And a lot of the learning that we do, often we have to change up just that lens, because that changes the way we see the world in the viewfinder, and then that starts the whole snowball, how we want to evolve our photography. And the flip side to that one lens is that incredibly huge kit of lenses that we have acquired, in part because we don't really know where we want to go, and in this learning process, trying to apply, we're confusing it all by having too much offerings in front of us to sit there and settle down on just one lens. Now, that I was thinking about the scenario of having that one lens that we latch onto and we can never stop shooting with, and the other swing of the pendulum where we have so many lenses we can't pick the one. And that's a real, conundrum, to be honest with you, because photographers love glass, and I am no different. But when you're in the business of photography and you have that capital investment you have to deal with, then you start to learn that those lenses have to do particular jobs. So in the process of learning, okay, and growing your photography, you've got to get past that first stigma, that first roadblock, that first real hurdle, and that is the lens you've got. You might end up learning that the lens you thought was the sharpest isn't the best for your photography. You might learn you have that entire kit of lenses, but the lens you really need to grow your photography isn't in it. So when you go out and seek this knowledge, you've got to open up your mind. You've got to put down those basic defensive instincts in order to apply what you've learned. And here's the next thing. When you go out seeking that knowledge and you're learning things, understand that you might not need, and probably shouldn't take whatever recipe, for lack of better terms, that is being provided you in that learning, and take that entire recipe and 100% just put it into your photography and think that's going to solve everything. Or more importantly, you're going to grow as a photographer. It's very important. I try to remind people every time I get in front of a group and I sit there and start talking about what it is I do and I show photographs, I remind them that it's up to them to take the information I'm providing and only apply the information that works to your photography, and all the rest of it, throw it away. I mean, I'm very serious when I say you have to apply just what works for you and your photography and get rid of the rest. I can give you tons of examples. It could be anything from the autofocus modes I like to use to the way I like to apply exposure compensation. It could be as simply the lens I like for that particular subject or a particular look. In this learning process, and here's the challenge, you have to kind of understand where you're at in the first place, so that learning you are soaking up, you can only apply those aspects that apply to you. One of the challenges that you are in your photography spot this moment, and it's not the same spot you were a year ago, and it won't be the same spot a year from now. So applying information you learn, and this is the challenge, is knowing what to apply and what to throw away. In that whole process, can't recommend enough that if you are trying to improve a particular aspect of photography, that whatever you went after seeking this year, that you reinvestigate next year. And whatever you reinvestigated last year, look at it again now. And that's because we are continually growing as photographers. And more importantly, we're continually growing as human beings. Both those experiences go into that click, and that topic, that idea, that piece of gear, whatever it happens to be that you're trying to learn last year because you had that feeling that you need to learn it. You might want to go and reinvestigate it again because you have probably grown to the point where some of the things that you thought you should just throw away a year ago, maybe now they apply. Some of the things you learned a year ago and you incorporated, maybe those should be ditched. That's learning. It's a continuous left foot, right foot, trying to improve your photography. What's another important way of learning that you can do yourself that can be really hard is looking at those photographs you took a year ago as you started out learning that new concept or technique or tool, and see where you've come in a year. And you have to be honest. You have to really look at these things. Look at all the aspects of that photograph. Did you learn that concept that you wanted to learn? Did you apply all those things from it that you wanted to apply? And if you did you do it successfully? Could you do it better? That is a learning part of the process that I find a lot of photographers tend to ditch. They get in a rut. And when I was young, I was told a rut is a grave with the ends knocked out. That's nowhere to go, no place to be stuck if you're a creative, if you're a photographer, if you're a visual storyteller. So learning is more than just sitting in a classroom and listening. It's more than watching an online class. It's more than writing down information on a piece of paper. It's actually, in many ways, all about throwing away your ego and your preconceived ideas and embracing something for what it's worth. And in that, learning what that technique or tool has to offer you, applying those, and then moving your photography forward. And the most important part about this learning thing is you can't stop. You really can't stop. I had a person this last weekend kind of said, basically, well, what do you do to learn things? Because what do you have left to learn? And I looked at that person and I said, I have everything. I have everything to learn. You know, what I've learned in my 40 years, okay, it barely scratched the surface. All you have to do is go out with your camera once, and all of a sudden something new comes up, and it's like, oh, something else I got to figure out, something else I need to work on. That is the process of being a photographer and embracing that learning, understanding that you probably failed at some point. You got to relearn some things. Some things you were never exposed to, you got to learn those things. And the biggest thing for learning is how to keep moving those forward, incorporating everything that works for you, so your story keeps coming out when you go click. It's a constant process, one that is so much fun. I love that learning thing. So hopefully you get out and you practice more of that learning. I've got another online class this week with B&C Camera. Got to be talking about backyard bird shooting gallery. Hope you join us. The link's on the website. Have a great week, folks. And remember to make every click your story.